Hello, my name is Stuart. I run this channel which presents various topics related to eBay. It's a channel for fellow eBay traders like myself, um, as a sort of forum, a place where you can come and find out, just as you can in many channels, my perspective on an experience about trading on eBay. So just recently we had this huge problem for those of us who export to the USA, the removal of the de minimis um, export level from $800, sorry, tariff level from $800 all the way down to zero. So anything now that comes into the USA that isn't a gift or printed papers, I believe, is subject to taxes when it comes into the country. Now, it was nice while it lasted, and one can't always assume that tariffs are going to remain favorable. So when it did happen, there was a lot of panic, but personally, I managed to find a solution for myself thanks to the courier that I use. And I understand that Royal Mail in the UK are also offering what's known as delivered duty paid. So what that means is that when you book via click and drop, I haven't tried this with Royal Mail, but I'm assuming this is the case. When you book a package to the USA using click and drop, and if you declare that it's a piece of merchandise for sale, sold, then you pay the duty. As the sender, as the seller, you pay the duty at the point at which you purchase your label, and when the item arrives in the USA, it should clear through customs and be passed on to USPS, where it will be delivered with very minimal delays. Now, I think that's a good system. A lot of people will say, well, Donald Trump and the USA have really shafted it to people who are trying to export to the USA because, as Trump has been saying, it's not the American buyer who will have to pay the duty, it's the seller. Well, not quite. Okay, so on the face of it, yeah, we sellers are having to pay the duty, which, just to say what the cost is for me, because I don't use Royal Mail, I use another company. It's like a forwarding freight service where I send all my packets down to Heathrow Airport. They're handled and they are scanned, etc. They are put on a commercial freight flight to the USA, JFK, and everything is done that way. They're eventually passed on to USPS to complete the leg, to complete the delivery, and I receive tracking all the way to the door of the recipient, and it only costs me £1 extra compared with what Royal Mail are charging for non-tracked shipping. Tracking is important to me, to the USA, because for those of you who ship to the USA, you'll have received emails after 4 or 5 weeks saying, where's my parcel? Where's my parcel? You've got no tracking number if you've sent by small packet rate Royal Mail. Only if you pay an extra £5 do you get a tracking number. But with the company that I use, they only charge an extra £1. I get a USPS tracking number. And if I told you how much money that has saved me in claims, it's unbelievable. But that's another topic, which I'll come back to. Yeah, so the company that I use, they also do delivered duty paid. The handling charge is 30p, which is hardly anything. It's fabulous. And then they charge depending on the origin of the goods. Most of the time for me it's the UK, sometimes it's Germany, sometimes it's Japan, very rarely is it actually China. And by and large the duty is about 10% plus this 30p. Now the 10% is also levied on the shipping charge, something which I think is a raw deal, but that's the way it is. Have I paid for this? Because, for example, if I send a packet under 100 grams when de minimis $800 was still there, no duties, etc., my packets would cost me about £5.20 to send under 100 grams. And now what do they cost? Well, add £3 or £4 per shipment for the duty and the admin charge. So going from paying £5.20, suddenly you're paying 10, 11, 12, 13 pounds, depending on the value of the goods. It's quite a bit of money. How do I get around that? How do I make sure that I don't have to pay all of that cost? Well, it's quite simple. I have increased my shipping cost to the USA. Thankfully, the way that eBay allow you to manipulate shipping charges, it's possible to do this, and I'll tell you how in a minute. But yeah, so I normally charge to the USA £8.80. Now bear in mind, eBay take 10% of that straight away. So that's more like, not £8.80, that's more like £8. The actual shipping cost, including packing and everything, is about £5. So yeah, I make £3 profit on my shipping, and to me that's just good business. If people are prepared to pay it and I can make a profit on my shipping, then that's fine. And I've been able to do that. It helps to pay for any losses because I don't pay any extra for insurance, etc. And there are occasionally losses and problems. But yeah, I do make a profit on my shipping. But in order to pay for this new cost of import tax, I've increased my shipping initially from £8.80 to £11. Not too much at first. I want to see the impact. And from what I could gather, the impact seemed to be fairly reasonable. Didn't really notice any change in the number of orders I get, which isn't a lot. It's about 60 orders a month, 15 orders a week roughly. And that equates to about 10% of my sales. Still a fair chunk. I wouldn't like to lose it. So yeah, no change really. I mean, £11, £2.20. Well, deduct again 10% for eBay's cut, and then of course you have to pay duty on that, on the increase. So it's £2.20. You've got to pay 10% on that. So that £2.20 is more like me getting £1.50, which is still not covering me. But I would still rather do that and bear some of the duties than lose all my trade with USA customers. So I've done that. I've had to subsidize and take a lower profit margin in order to keep business going along. Now what I've done just recently, just a few days ago, is I've bumped it up again to £12. So that will help me a little bit more. It means that on average per packet I'll be losing maybe £1 or £2. Now my average order value to the USA is about £30 to £40, and the nature of the product that I sell mostly gives me a really good profit margin, so there's still plenty of money in there for me to make. But I would think that in the long term this is going to cost me £100 a month. That's me subsidizing. The American buyer is going to have to pay half of the duties. I'm paying the other half. That's the way to do it. I would have to increase my shipping cost to like £15 to cover all of it. And I'm afraid that my buyers might not pay that price, because a lot of the goods that I sell, they're like sort of 10, 15, 20 pounds. And is someone going to pay £15 for shipping? I'm not sure. So that's my advice to you. How is it done? Well, on eBay, you can select, if you bulk edit, you can select international shipping. You then are offered, forget about global shipping, don't change that, just leave that as it is. And then you're then offered to change. Now you've got to have two shipping. You've got to have for worldwide. Well, no, not quite worldwide. You've got to be able to select out exactly what you want. For example, to the rest of the world, excluding the USA, I use raw mail. So I select international economy, and then I put in my shipping price, £8.80, 50 pence per extra item. And then it gives you a choice to select region. So I select Europe, EU, Japan, Australia, Asia, not South America, not Africa, of course, just the prime locations to sell to. So I select those, and then I select a second shipping option, which is going to be for my American sales. So I don't select America for the first option, but I select it for the second option, and I put down my shipping price, £12, international shipping, whatever. And there it is. That's how you do it. Yeah, differential shipping prices depending on the region. So American buyers can pay me extra for the duty, and I'll subsidize it as well to an extent. I might keep pushing it, see how high I can go. I've noticed there's been a slight drop off in orders, not a lot, you know. Um, I'm noticing maybe a couple of orders down per week, but it seems to be holding up fairly well. So yeah, let me know how you guys have managed to get on with it. What have you done? A lot of you have said, right, I'm not selling to America anymore. I don't think that's the answer. We're going to find this all around the world, that things will be getting tighter and tougher all the time. Somebody left a comment on YouTube saying they'll have us selling to the village just down the road. We won't be able to sell even out of our own region in our own country. They'll have us selling and bartering, with a village within a say 20-mile radius at this rate. Yeah, I find it really frustrating. I'm for free trade. I'm for tariff-free trade. I think it's good for everybody, but we're seeing more protectionist policies, and I don't like it. I don't like it when the UK does it. I don't like it when the EU does it, and particularly America, because America has always been seen as leading the world in free trade. And look what's happened. And it hurts the American buyer just as much as it hurts the rest of the world who ship to the USA. Okay, so that's all. Hope you enjoyed that, and look forward to hearing your comments. Goodbye.